Did you know that when you use your reflexes, the reflex doesn't actually go to your brain? Your brain is not really involved in your reflexes at all. So reflexes are a type of a nerve, signal, impulse, etc., all that, but they're kind of a special type. So kind of the path of a regular nerve signal impulse is you receive sensory information such as touch or pain or pressure or something. That impulse goes through your peripheral nervous system via sensory nerves. Then it kind of enters your central nervous system, which is your brain and spinal cord, where it's received, processed, and then a response is generated. That response goes out to your motor neurons. The sensory neurons receive the information, they send it to your brain, it gets processed, and then it's sent back out to the peripheral nervous system where a response can happen. For example, if I feel, a water droplet on my hand, my sensory nerves will sense that water droplet and be like, there is something on my hand. That sensation will go to my brain will be like, there's something on my hand, and send a response out and either remove the water droplet because I don't want it, or just be like, sure, there's a thing there. This works the same for touch or pain or temperature or anything like that. But reflexes are a kind of different matter. They don't actually make it all the way to your brain in pretty much every case. Reflexes are a much kind of faster and more immediate response. They're for things like emergency situations. You know the reflex when you touch something hot and you pull your hand away really fast without even thinking of it? That is the reflex, and it goes through the reflex arc. So when you encounter a sensation, such as something really hot, then that starts kind of in the sensory neurons as well, but instead of making their way all the way up to your brain, they kind of have an intermediate station. The brain may be kind of too far away for you to generate a response in time to avoid the tissue damage of touching something really hot, so instead of going to the brain, the signal goes to a special spot in the spinal cord. The sensory signal makes its way from the peripheral nervous system, so like my hand, into an interneuron located within the spinal cord. So it is much more local to where the sensation was, and it doesn't have to go all the way up and down the entire central nervous system to get to and from my brain. It's basically just like a short way station of sorts. So, I touch something hot. The sensory signal is like, oh, we should not be doing that, and it travels to an interneuron. The interneuron is like, oh shit, we should not be doing that, and it sends out a signal to the motor neuron, which then tells me to pull my hand away as fast as I can. My brain does not comprehend this because the signal hasn't made its way there yet. Now, it will make its way eventually to my brain, because then after that, it's like, oh, I touched a hot thing, and I shouldn't have. Oh, that was a thing that happened. So my brain does get the signal eventually, it's just after the action of pulling my hand away has already occurred, because I'm not consciously thinking of pulling my hand away from something that is really hot. It's just a reflexive action that I actually don't get any conscious say in. Same thing as the one where they hit your knee with a hammer and your leg goes like that. That's also a reflex you can't control. So when your knee gets hit by that little hammer thing, your leg will jerk because the sensory input is going into the knee, it's sending that to the interneuron, doesn't make its way to his brain, it just goes right back out in the motor neurons, and you kick your leg without wanting to actually kick your leg. This is also involved in things like the startle response, so like fight or flight. You don't really consciously think about that, but if something scares you, you jump and you become more alert, or you run away. If you have a pretty strong startle response, that's your flight response. You don't even think about it, you just get the fuck out of there. So that is just kind of how the reflex response works. I think it's just very interesting that in a reflex response, it doesn't actually get the signal all the way to your brain until after the action that was triggered has already happened, and I just think that's really cool.